Hi, everybody. Welcome to First Center for Spiritual Living and our self-healing class. I see that we have a lot of new callers with us tonight. Jimmy showed me a list. I couldn't catch all the names. I've been teaching a version of this class now for over 25 years. At this point, we have in excess of 26, 28 lessons. Tonight's lesson is simply about meditation. It's a very easy lesson, so I'm going to be interacting with you and we'll share some ideas together. For those of you who don't know who we are, we're formerly the First Church of Religious Science. We're now called the First Center for Spiritual Living of New York. And this particular work was started by Raymond Charles Barker. And after him, there was Stuart Grayson and Rev Wade Adkisson and myself. What's notable here, since this is a self-healing class and Louise is center stage and star, she was a great religious science student who wrote the book, You Can Heal Your Life. I'm sure many of you are here because of that book. And I can personally attest to the healing that has taken place because of the work that she did in many communities, notably the gay community, and work with AIDS, and after that work with, she did a lot of work with the healing on all levels and with everyone. So I'm always inspired by what she did and the impact she had with the book You Can Heal Your Life, and she got her education here with us. So tonight, we're talking about self-healing. Joseph did what he thought was a reading, but he really read points of Louise's philosophy, which if you have the copy, I'd like to see it for a second, Joseph. I oftentimes thought if I were stranded on a desert island and I had nothing other than one single piece of paper, this would be the piece of paper, because really, it's a list. It's a list of things to remind yourself of. And we'll talk about meditation tonight and calming ourselves. All of these ideas are so brilliant, and those of us who are in religious science will say, well, my God, those are religious science ideas. And you would be correct. You know, she learned religious science. She had a unique way of presenting religious science. So religious science became immediately accessible to just about everybody. The first thought that I'm going to amplify a few of the things that Joseph just read. We're each responsible for all of our experiences. It's such an important idea. When I was a younger person, I didn't like it because I thought it meant that I was to blame for the things that were happening to me. And as you get involved in self-healing, and if you understand the consciousness that was Louise Hay, there was never a shred of blame involved in anything she ever taught. She was really teaching the law of mind. When she said we're responsible for what happens to us, what she was doing was explaining to us that our life and all of our circumstances in our life reflect the sum total of our knowing. So it is our consciousness that creates. And, you know, who you are is announced in the world. It's what you do speaks so loudly no one can hear a word you say. It's kind of like everything about us lives from the inside outside. And the thing that's interesting is when you don't have this insight and you're younger, you think that the world about you think people are doing things to you. And so much of your conversation is about other people and what other people are doing. As you learn to develop your consciousness and understand how it really works in truth, and if you start to engage in this course of study, you'll realize that you're creating your whole life. Moment by moment, hour by hour, thought by thought, everything's a reflection. So that idea that we're each responsible for our lives takes on a whole new meaning. There's not a goodness or a badness to it. It's simply the way it is. I'm responsible for my life. Just think about that for a moment once you get over the shock of it. Well, I'm responsible for my life would mean that I can really change just about anything. Okay. One of the lines here, I don't know what comes next, is she'll say, whatever is going on with you right now, it's only a thought you're having about something, and a thought can always be changed. So that would squarely suggest the power exists with you to change your thinking about anything. There's a high calling to be really a true metaphysician or a truth student, because the high calling is to become the guardian at the gate of your own consciousness. You know, you're asked to do a lot. You're asked to take really good care of your thinking, because you know that your thinking is creating your life and your life experience. Florence Scovel-Shinn again said to become the guardian at the gate. So it's a high calling. You know, I really can't blame my life on anybody or anything that happens. And again, we come back to that idea that we're each responsible for our own life experiences. And if you're talking about other people a lot, it's kind of like you're missing the whole point. You're missing the whole idea. You came in here as this amazing creature full of every good thing. There's power for good and in you, Ernest Holmes would have said, and available to you. And you can use that power. In fact, you are using that power. So now maybe it's time to calm ourselves down a little bit and reflect and think about the idea of meditation and be still and know who you are. My God, you're amazing. Do you know that about yourself? Be still and reflect upon how great thou art. If you could do that more often, if you could get out of the spin zone, turn off the television, and reflect upon how wonderful your life really is, and challenge yourself to be a bit more of a practitioner where you can see the good and the good and the good. Because really, if you have the consciousness of understanding that you live and move and have your being in divine substance, again, if you have that consciousness where you know you live, move, and have your being in divine substance, really, that's the great story. The great story is I live, move, and have my being in divine substance. What else would you want to talk about other than that? I'll invoke people you don't know. Jackie Gleason. How sweet it is. How sweet it is to have the understanding that you live, move, and have your being in divine substance, and it responds to you. My goodness gracious, when we're kids, we used to have to pray to a God above, we thought. And we were always trying to become better because we thought there was something wrong with us. And we thought if we did some novenas or some prayers or whatever, acts of contrition, that maybe somehow we would be forgiven, because surely we didn't feel like we were adequate in so many ways. We didn't know that we were born beautiful, whole, and complete. Most of us weren't taught that we were born beautiful, whole, and complete and amazing. How many of you were raised knowing you were amazing? How many of you were raised being told how wonderful and intelligent and attractive and fabulous and terrific, and you know, that the whole world is there for you? I mean, did you miss that part of your childhood? So we come to class and we're grateful for our parents, and we're grateful for the learning that we got from people who loved us. And we also know that there is much for us to do, because quite honestly, not everybody gets those kind of truthful messages. Louise had Louise Hay said somewhere in the book, we are all victims of victims. And what she meant to say in that part of the book is that we've all been raised by people. And the people who raised us were wonderful in so many ways, as you know. And they also passed on things to us that probably weren't the most enlightened things in the world. And I can make fun of my group. They were the Irish Catholics. They were lovers and fighters and scrappers and romantic and, merry and, and Irish eyes are smiling. The Irish are a lot of things. But the thing is, we were given a lot of great gifts in that family. And I'm sure everybody's got versions of that. And then we were given some other things that, have a tendency to stay with us. And these are the things that are our blind spots or our belief system. And these are the things that we have a tendency to keep perpetuating in our life until whatever it is that we keep perpetuating, it's a limiting idea. It keeps running us amok until we eventually deal with it. In religious science, we know that all healing is self-healing, and we know that everything that comes our way comes to us for us. So we understand that all encounters are holy encounters and that all the things that are happening for the good. Because we live, move, and we have our being in goodness. Now you can play with the language as I do. We live, move, we have our being in God, in goodness, in love, in light. And you can say, well, Greg, how do you know that? I'm saying because there is one energy, one life, and that is God life. And that is our life right now. There is nothing other than that. You are a thinking being within it. And you've been given all the gifts to think and to choose and to create. So the question I ask every Thursday night is, what's it been like being you lately? What's it been like this week? You have all the skills, all the abilities, you can create so much good. And I'm always excited to hear what your creations are this week. You get to create it all. So what's it been like? And I'm looking forward to the week where people are just telling me they're so excited about themselves because they're creating, all these wonderful experiences. And then I know I've had students over the years who tell me, oh, Greg, get real. Life is hard. You don't understand me. You don't understand what I've been through. And I'll say, well, I can't really say I understand what you've been through because, I've been through my own stuff. But I do know to practice this teaching involves practice. And it involves having the vision and the knowing that you're supplied and supported. So I know the conversation ultimately each week that I'm inviting you all to share in is, what's it been like? What has it been like being you? How great has it been this week? How have you overcome whatever challenge that's been there? How have you gotten yourself to see it from a new vantage point? Maybe in the past, some of those old tapes where you'd think that somehow you've been shortchanged, because you have fairness issues. You think that, life is unfair. Maybe this week you finally woke up and realized and saw it a different way. Maybe at last you realized that you're in the perfect place and perfect time. Maybe, that's a great place when you can wake up and you have nobody to blame. And you can just, with wonder say, I'm responsible for my life and what's happened. And I'm deciding now to have a great day. We're each responsible for our lives after all. So the subject of meditation weaves its way through my thoughts because it always starts with a new thought. And oftentimes before there's a new thought, there's a place where we have a quietness and a calmness. And usually for me, something speaks to me. We can call it whatever you want to call it. Some of you call it guidance. Some of you call it spirit. Emerson would say, spirit woos you. I would say it yet another way, that there's an internal guidance system that's always in operation in each of us. Nobody needs to tell me when I'm screwing up or making a mistake, I promise you, because I already know. There is that which is within each of you that knows. I don't need to be scolded by anybody. You don't need to be scolded by anyone either. You know when you're living on the beam and you're trusting life. You know, and you know that you know. So one of the things that this class does is it reminds you of how great you are, and it reminds you that you have within you everything always available to you. And you can trust that, and you can begin to trust it more. So we remind you week by week, and we invite you to take quiet moments where you pause and you reflect and you know how wonderful, amazing you are, and how you know that you're one with all love and all intelligence. You are one with the one. I have a few other quotes, of course, for tonight. I always do. I had Dr. Reverend Celeste give me a few notes on meditation today in case I came up here and forgot what I was going to talk about. Rumi would say, the inspiration you seek is already within you. The inspiration you seek is already within you. I think I've said that about 5 different times tonight. Rumi goes on to say, be quiet and listen. You can do all kinds of meditation positions. You can do chanting. You can do many things. You can do open eye meditation. You can do closed eye meditations. You can do many things, and we don't really take positions on any of this. Whatever is going to work for you to slow yourself down. I remember when I was taking care of someone in Key West, seems like 100 years ago. On the coffee table of that particular doctor's office was a book by Ram Dass entitled, Be Here Now. If you could just practice doing that, you'd be giving yourself a tremendous gift. Many people, if not most people, are worried about, it could be COVID, or it could be worried about the future. They could be worried about they're not 20 anymore. They could be worried about, what's for dinner. They could be worried what their boyfriend's doing, their girlfriend's doing. Every time you get yourself into a place of worry, you're taking yourself right out of the present. The gift of the present is in the present. That is the present, is having the awareness right here and now, of life, in abundant life, and that it's responding to you right now. Buddha is thought to have said, do not dwell in the past. Do not dream of the future. Concentrate the mind on the present moment. I haven't written down the salutation to the dawn or the Sanskrit proverb, but I think I have it almost memorized because I've used it in so many talks. And it starts about looking to the east. Well, the east is, where the sun rises. Look to the east. Look to the dawn. Look to this day, for it is life, the very life of life. In its brief course lies everything. The glory of action, the splendor of power. I think I'm missing a line. It goes on to say, for today well lived makes every yesterday a dream of happiness, and every tomorrow a vision of hope. Look well, therefore, to this day. So I'm going to take a line then from Buddha. Let's not be in the past anymore, not even for a second. It's finished. Don't let yourself go too much into the future either. Concentrate on the idea that you have everything at hand right now. Our textbook, just for those of you who are interested in meditations, things to contemplate, is full of meditations on pages 507 through 567. They seem to be a little bit of partial treatments, but they're very helpful if you need something to help yourself calm down. I could talk to you about visualizations, the art of visualizations. You could look up the word in the textbook, in the glossary. Ernest Holmes thought they were helpful, but they're not the same thing as doing spiritual mind treatment or affirmative prayer. His only comment about it ultimately is it was a form of limitation. Because, again, you have power within you to create anything you want to create. And we start by calming ourselves down and turning within to the power that we already have. The kingdom of God, as we all know, is where? It's at hand. So I'm going to talk a little bit more, but tonight I'm going to do a little something different. I want to hear what you all do. But I'm really more important than your particular technique of quieting your mind. I really want to know how you're working with the practice of the teaching, because I want you to know that everybody in this call, and there's a lot of people now on this call, and there's more that listen to it. We've been swelling in numbers. The work you're doing is important, because the beneficiary of everything is you. So if you keep working on your own consciousness and become the guardian at your gate and keep calming yourself down and telling yourself, I am supplied and supported, and if you really mean it, you're going to start to have lots of things change in your life. If you truly get to a place where you know that you're supplied and supported, a lot of these stories are going to just go away.